talking this week about solo parenting when your service member is gone, either on TDY or deployment. I'm really excited to bring Valerie McNulty on with me. She is another military spouse author. So let's see if we can get her on. Sometimes it works. There we go. I
Hey guys.
recorded it a couple times. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
You never know. It's
Yeah.
technology, so.
Yes. Yes. How are you?
I'm good. Happy Monday.
Good. Yes. Happy Monday. It's morning for me.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to have you on, Valerie. You are a Coast Guard spouse, but you used to be an Army spouse. And you
Indeed.
have two kids, and I know you just released a book for our military community. So I want you to tell us the title and tell us a little bit about it, and then we will go into talking about solo parenting.
That sounds great. So, my book actually stemmed from solo parenting. It's called Never Goodbye, Always See You
Great.
Later. It just came out in paperback on Amazon. And it's really for any military family, whether you are a male or female serving, and for any branch. But it is a love letter to the military child. It's to remind them that they're not alone in this and that their emotions are valid, and to kind of walk them through what a deployment is like. And so I think it's going to be a really good resource for our military families. It's something that I wish I would have had
Yes.
when navigating that season. And so that's kind of how it came to be.
Yes. And I love that there are so many more resources coming out.
Me too.
Um, I know when my kids were little and my husband was deployed, there really wasn't much to help the military family at all. So I really appreciate that you're doing that, and the illustrations are really great, you guys.
Oh
I
man.
just really encourage you to check it out. So that is Never Goodbye, Always See You Later, and you can
Yeah.
get it on Amazon.
Yeah. My girl,
Okay.
Ariel Mendez, she's a military wife as well. She really
Yes.
brought it home.
Yes. And I love that just all these military spouses are partnering to do these things. So, since Valerie wrote a children's book, I wanted to bring her on to talk about this topic of solo parenting. And I also have a book coming out. It's called Another Move God, and it is a study through Sarah and Abraham, 30 days worth, for military wives. And it just is pointing them to the Word of God, and really to the peace of God in the midst of their chaos. And one of the topics that I talk about is solo parenting, because we all have seasons of that if you're a military spouse, whether your spouse is deployed or they're TDY, or we had a season where my husband night flew. So really, we didn't see him Monday through Friday. Um, so, Valerie, I wanted to invite you on because one of the things I talk about is that when you are solo parenting, that I think you do need to recognize that you are human and you have weaknesses, and that you can prioritize self-care. And by this self-care, I don't mean self-indulgent, but it's just really recognizing your limits and your needs. And I found when I prioritize self-care, I could be a lot more patient and a lot more stressed out. And then the time, that I was investing in them, I was just a better mom. And I think that's something that I figured out kind of the hard way. And I think military spouses can tend to be like, yes, I can do this. I'm strong. I'm independent. And we are,
It's so
but we're also human. Um, so I wanted to ask you, what are your three, and we only have 15 minutes. So
going
I'm
to try not
sure,
to chat too
yeah,
much.
so we could probably talk for a couple of hours on this. But what are your three tips for navigating solo parenting?
Okay, so first tip for sure would be looking to God for strength and wisdom. Um, I can do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, my strength will run out. But and you said it, like we are strong, we are very capable people, but I am not God, and I know that He can carry me in whatever season I am in, and so that is definitely my number one tip. Um,
Awesome.
Two would be communication.
Hmm.
Communication is always key. And I'm recognizing right now that, like, there are deployments where, or TDYs where you can't communicate regularly. So
Hmm.
100% acknowledge that. I've been through that. But there are also deployments where you can.
Yes.
And so it's a matter of just talking with your spouse and making sure that that's a priority between both of you and having a plan. And so
Well,
for our
and I
marriage,
just want to say Marco Polo is a good thing
yes.
if you are never going to be able to communicate at the same time. You
Well,
can
that
speak
and that's
with
actually what I was going to say is that Marco Polo, that was a huge tool for us.
yes.
That was something that we used for my boys. I mean, we used for everything, but my
Hmm.
boys specifically, because of their school schedule, they were not able to FaceTime
Yeah,
necessarily when dad could FaceTime. And
right.
so we had videos to fall back on, especially on the hard days,
Yeah.
especially on the days where they were really struggling with, like, why is dad always gone? And so I would be able to just whip my phone out and let play a video for them. And he was talking right to them. And so even though it wasn't in real time to them, it is.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And so communication will always be, up there as far as tips that I give to other military wives. And then my third one, it's a little silly, but it's what worked for me. It's just to ditch the dishes. And
Yes.
it doesn't have to be dishes for you, but it was dishes for me. You have to find something that you can lay aside. You're
Hmm.
carrying a lot,
Yes.
and you can't be everything to everyone.
Hmm.
And so for me, I realized, okay, I'm okay with using paper products. I'm okay with, like not having to do the dishes all the time. I was in the season that I was in, I had an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old. And so it was a lot of dishes. And so that's how I combated that, is to lay aside something. So for you, it may be laundry. It may be like, don't stop doing laundry, but it may be like the clean clothes just stay in the hamper. Find something that works for your
Yeah.
family.
And I love that. And by the way, I meant to mention your husband has done 3 deployments, and 2 of those you had kids. So
Yes.
you are a really good expert on this
Well, I
because
don't know
you've
about
navigated it.
expert, but I
Well,
definitely
you've
went through
navigated it.
it.
Yeah, and I love that you say ditch the dishes, because I realized, yeah, I had to make life easier, and I think we are making extra pay when our spouse is deployed, and it is okay to spend some of that on things that are gonna make it just more manageable for you.
Yeah.
And I also found when my spouse was deployed or TDY that less was more for us. So I had to kind of, you know, uh, rein it all in, all the different things we were doing because I couldn't do it all and be a nice mom.
So
So
true.
just doing less helped me manage it better. And like you said, paper products, we ate a lot of mac and cheese when my husband was deployed
Yes, girl.
because if I I get it's not like super healthy, but I couldn't do all the things, and I was like, well, this is one thing that I can make easier because when my husband's home, I cook him nice homemade meals,
Yeah.
and also it made it easier because I'm not fighting the kids about eating what I made, because
So
they
true.
like mac and cheese, and I also came to realize that cereal was an okay dinner
Cereal
at
is an
times.
exceptional dinner.
Yeah, so you just have to I think there's this like as military wives, we like to do all the things and be perfect and feed our kids all the healthy food and but we can't do it all when they're deployed. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to say, you know what, I'm an imperfect person and I can't do it all.
And
Um,
sometimes that means like just coming to the end of yourself and being at the end of your rope and realizing that. Like for me, that's what it took. I tried to make all the meals, tried to carry all the things, and then it just took me hitting the wall to
yes.
be like, something has to give.
Hmm.
So,
That's great wisdom. I really appreciate you saying that. Okay, so I talked a little bit about self-care, and I think it's going to be different for everybody.
absolutely.
I know, like, for me, it continues to be self-care is being involved in a women's Bible study group with actually other military spouses. Those are like my people, and that's very life-giving to me. And also, I mentioned some of that extra money. When my husband was deployed, I got a once-a-week babysitter. I homeschooled my kids, so just for 2 hours to be able to go run errands was huge for
Absolutely.
me. Without the kids fighting and wanting to buy all the things. So that was something that I figured out was really life-giving to me. So what suggestions do you have, Valerie, for self-care when your spouse is deployed that are realistic?
So my main suggestion, it's going to kind of go back to the first tip, but it's consistently spending time with God. Um, I've done deployments several ways, and that last deployment, I was at the end of my rope, and I was battling bitterness and frustration, and I had started to pull away from people, which not technically the healthy thing to do, but something that I did do that was healthy was making God a priority, and I was spending time in the Word every morning, and it changed me. And I will never take for granted that season. It changed me for the better. My walk with the Lord just grew so much in such a difficult season, and it made me more bold to speak about his goodness and his strength and what he can do. And I knew it was him because it wasn't me. And so that will always be my biggest self-care tip. You can do a ton of things for self-care, like you mentioned, getting a babysitter, going to Starbucks and getting your favorite drink, or binge watching a show, or getting lost in a book. All of those things are good things, and I've done all of those things. Um, but all of those things are just happiness, temporary happiness at that, and it fades. And the only thing that provides true joy is the Lord. It's God given. And it says in Nehemiah that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And as a military wife, I think that we need to cling to that. He will provide that strength, especially during parenting alone. And so that will always be my number one self-help tip. Um, Not knocking any of the other things, because I'm a huge advocate for working out and baking or doing all of the fun things that you can do,
Hmm.
but I will always fall back on that.
Yeah, well, and I fully agree. And I appreciate you being vulnerable, Valerie, that you just had this end of yourself moment, because I think people need to hear we get those. We don't
Absolutely.
always have it all together all the time. And I have found, Valerie, spending time with the Lord is huge for me too. But I've found that when I give the Lord my time, to be with him, I feel like he multiplies my time. I've given him time, and all of a sudden,
Yes.
all the things that I have to do like will take less time, or God will give me wisdom into something that'll make it faster. It's like he gives me back the time when I prioritize him. But that is a constant struggle,
Yes.
to look at your calendar and say, okay, I have all the things to do. I don't know that I have time for this, but I have learned that I don't know how God does the math, but he just does it. When I give him the time, he gives it back to me. And I'm a different person. Like when my kids were little, um, and we lived in Korea, they shared a bedroom, and I put a little post-it note up to the digital clock, and I said, they cannot come out until 7.
Yes.
And they were old enough together to figure that out. And they were like, why, mommy? Why can't we come out? And I said, because mommy has to spend time with Jesus. And if I don't spend with Jesus, like, I'm just as not a good a mommy that day. I'm not patient. So, like, you want mommy to spend time with Jesus. And they were like, oh, okay. But, like, it was so true. If I didn't get that time, I was off the
Yeah.
rest of the day and relying on my own strength instead of the Lord.
That's amazing. Well, and that's something that I started doing. My oldest was already in school, and so my toddler at the time, he would sit at the table with me, and so I had books or coloring or whatever it was, and so I was spending time with Jesus. And I think that's even a testament to our kids that,
Yeah.
like, they recognize that this is a hard season. They're wondering where their dad is or their mom is. And so for them to see that you are digging into God's word in such a hard season, that's huge. And they may not know that yet, but one day they're going to be able to look back and say, wow, like mommy read the
Yeah.
Bible during this time. And
Well, and
so,
they say that our faith is caught more than taught. So your
yes,
son right there was like, that's what mom does when she hits a hard time. And that's going to really cement itself in. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So, I just want to tell you guys that prioritizing self-care is in my book, and solo parenting as well. So what I'm going to do after I share this video, and I'll make you a collaborator, Val, so that you can
awesome.
put it on your post too. I'm going to do a link to your book, which is Never Goodbye, Always See You Later, which is to help your kids cope with deployment and understand it. And I know I did a ton of teaching with my kids by reading them books. So
Absolutely.
this is just a great way. And then my book is Another Move God, and it is available on pre-order. So basically, we're hitting a book for the military spouse and for the military family. So,
Yeah,
Valerie, I
girl.
think this has been such a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you prioritizing the time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Beth. I was so excited to chat with you.
Good. All right. Well, thanks so much. Have a great day.